Hey guys, so today we're checking out the cold air intake fitting all 2016 and newer 3.5 liter Toyota Tacomas. So if you're looking for an affordable option for a cold air intake for your truck, this is going to be a great choice to take a look into. So cold air intakes offer a number of different benefits when it comes to your motor. They allow your engine to breathe a little bit better, and that is going to increase your horsepower, your torque, your efficiency as far as your MPG is concerned, and it's also going to help you out with your throttle response in the higher RPM ranges if you've noticed your truck is lagging a little bit on that front. So not only is this going to offer you benefits as far as the gains are concerned, but this is also very easy to maintenance and clean. Now this comes with a reusable filter, so you can pop it out, clean it, and pop it right back in, and it's going to last you the lifetime of your truck. Now this is also going to have a very nice setup as far as the actual construction of the intake is concerned. You're getting a large heat shield here that's going to cause a lot less restriction than your factory air box. You're also getting a seal up at the top that's going to seal to the hood and keep any hot engine bay air out. And you're also getting an aluminum intake tube, which is going to have a straight through style design, which will allow better airflow than the factory intake. Now with all of that being said, like I told you guys, this is going to be very affordable, coming in at roughly $175. So in comparison to some other choices, this is going to have a more simple approach and a no fuss design, as to where some other choices may come with a large air box that will still operate as a cold air intake, just going to provide a little bit more protection, or they may come with a different style filter, either having a larger filter or an oiled filter for a little bit better of power gains. Now in my personal opinion, I think if you're looking for a no fuss design, you're looking for a very affordable option that's going to provide you some horsepower and torque benefits, this is going to be a great choice. Not to mention it comes with everything that you need in order to install it, as well as all the fittings to swap over your factory components. As far as install is concerned, I'm going to give this a 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter. You're going to need a couple of basic hand tools and probably an hour's worth of time to get the job done. So speaking of the install, let's jump into that right now. The tools that I used for my install were an impact wrench, a flathead screwdriver, a pair of pliers, a pair of side cutters, a ratchet, a 5-inch extension, a 10mm wrench, a standard Allen key, a Phillips head screwdriver, a 13, 12, 10, an 8mm deep socket, and a 4mm Allen socket. So our first step to this is to pop off our engine cover. We're just going to pull up, and there's going to be a little clip at the back we can just pull forward. And that will expose our throttle body here. But our next step is actually to unplug our MAF sensor. Just press down on that and pull back. What we can do next is take a flathead screwdriver and just undo this clip here. We can release our wiring harness. We can tuck it over on the side here. Then we can take a pair of pliers and get this clamp and our PVC hose out of the way. Just going to move this back, and we can just pull backwards on this hose. And now we can start disconnecting our throttle body clamp as well as the rest of our airbox. So what I'm going to do first is actually take off the top of our airbox and disconnect it from the bottom. So I'm going to undo these hooks here. Just have to press down and pull back. And then that will disconnect the top portion. So we can grab a 10mm socket and loosen up our clamp at the throttle body. So we can loosen this one up, 10mm socket. And then we'll be able to remove the top part of our intake once that's off. So we can wiggle that off and remove this top portion. We can remove our drop-in filter, and that's going to expose a couple of bolts that are holding this in. We're going to need to remove both of these. Now with an extension as well as a 12mm socket, we can remove the 2 bolts that are holding on the bottom of our airbox. Now there's also going to be one on the outside. And after those are out, we'll be able to wiggle this out of place as well. So before we hop into the rest of the install, I did want to stop down and show you guys a comparison between the factory intake system and this new cold air intake, show you guys some benefits and some of the similarities and differences between the two. Now, starting off with the filter, which is going to give you the most benefits out of this cold air intake, this is going to be a big upgrade in itself. So our factory intake filter is going to be great for stock applications. It's going to offer a lot of filtration, but with that, it is going to give a lot of restriction. Now, this is also going to have to be replaced after so many miles because it is a drop-in paper filter, so you will have to maintenance and keep up with that by replacing the whole filter itself. Not to mention, this is a lot larger than this new filter here, which is going to cause a lot of that restriction, especially with the element that this uses. Now, moving over to this new option, this is going to be a smaller conical filter. However, this is going to offer a lot less restriction while offering a lot more filtration. So this is going to keep all of those contaminants out of your intake manifold while also giving you all of the benefits that you would want out of a cold air intake, like improved horsepower, torque, throttle response, and even efficiency. Now, what I really like about this is the fact that you can reuse it. Now, this is going to be a dry filter, which is going to have a couple of different benefits over a oiled filter, but you can clean this, reuse this, pop it back in, and use it for the lifetime of your truck. Now, moving over to the actual construction of the intake itself, as you can see on our factory one, this is going to have a large air box. Now, that's going to cause a little bit of restriction. On this side, we will have an air dam, which will allow airflow in, but the box is going to be enclosed. Now, it's going to help you out with protection for your filters, so there's no water or other large contaminants getting in. But with this new option, you're getting a lot less restriction again, considering that you're only getting a heat shield. Now, that's going to keep all of that hot engine bay air away from the filter, only taking in cold air for your intake manifold and your engine, which again is going to improve your horsepower, torque, and so on. But this is going to be a little less on the protective side. That's going to be great if you live in any climate that is a little bit drier, and if you're really not taking your Tacoma off-road as far as water forging is concerned. But it is still going to provide some decent protection for that filter, but it is, again, going to allow a lot less restriction. Now, speaking of restriction, the intake tube on the factory intake is also going to have a resonator on it. That's also going to cause some restriction as well. Now, on our new option, this is going to be made of an aluminum alloy material, so this will not only just disperse heat a lot better, but it's also going to be a straight through flow style, so you're getting direct airflow from the filter over to your intake manifold, which is again going to increase those gains. Now, on our factory one, a lot of the air will get caught in that chamber. It is a resonator. It is meant to kind of dumb down all of that airflow coming in. It does cause a little bit of restriction. Now, in a second, we will be swapping over some things like our MAF sensor. However, this is going to come with everything that you need in order to install it, including all the clamps, as well as the coupler and the mount for our filter. So what do you say we put it together and get it in our truck? So before we can install our intake on our truck, we do have to do some assembly. We have to swap over our MAF sensor onto our new intake tube. We do have to install our new fitting for our PCV piping, and we need to install our heat shields seal and the fitting for our filter. So first thing I'm going to do, so we can get this out of the way, is take off our MAF sensor. Now I'm going to be using a Phillips head screwdriver, and we're going to remove those factory screws. You can pull this off and out, swap it over into our new intake tube. Now we can line up the holes, and you are going to be provided with 2 button head bolts or 2 Allen head bolts. I'm going to take a small standard Allen key and thread those in. Then we can thread in our fitting. Right. The intake tube is taken care of. We can put that to the side. Next, what we can do is install our mount. Now this is gonna go on the inside. Gonna line that up. Take our larger button head hardware with the flat washer and lock washer and thread that into place. Then you can take a 4mm Allen socket or Allen key and tighten those up. After those are on, we can start to install our seal. So we are gonna have to trim some of this excess off. Because there is metal in here, I'm just gonna take a pair of snips and just snip off the excess. Right. Once that's installed, now we're ready to install our intake on our Tacoma. So what we can do now is take our rubber stops or our posts here and we can install them. Now there's gonna be a bolt hole or a threaded hole up at the top. We're gonna take both of those and thread those into a different location than our factory bolts. Our factory bolts were here. They're gonna be a larger thread. These are gonna be the smaller thread. So now that the single stud mounts are installed, we can take our double stud mount and thread that right on the side of our power steering fluid canister as well as our washer fluid. Now this is in a tight location, but we're going to put a bracket on in just a second. So we're gonna get that threaded in as far enough as we can. Make sure that that's tight. Now we can grab our heat shield as well as our bracket. What we're gonna do is drop this down on in and see where this needs to line up. All right, so we're gonna take this out. We just needed this for fitment. Then we can grab our Z bracket, place that down on in, place the washer on top. Then we can take our nylon lock nut and thread that into place. Then we can take a 13mm socket, making sure that the bracket is oriented in the correct way, and we can tighten that up. So what we can do next is grab our heat shield and put that back into place. What we can do is take our provided hardware, thread that into our stud mounts. And use a 10mm socket to tighten those up. What we can do now is take our provided bolt, 2 flat washers, and a nylon lock nut and we can secure down the airbox to this bracket here. So we're not working against gravity. I'm gonna put the bolt in upside down. Then we can secure the nylon lock nut up on top. We can take a 10mm socket and wrench and tighten those up. Next, we can put our filter into place. Now, what I usually like to do is just make sure that the clamp is oriented in a place where we can reach it the next time we have to use it. So I'm just gonna slide this over, take an 8mm socket, tighten that up. So what I'm gonna do is put the filter coupler on first, grab a clamp, making sure that it's going the right way, slide that over. Then we can take our intake tube and our second clamp and slide that into place and line that up with our throttle body. I want to make sure that this coupler is going all the way around, is butted up against the back of the throttle body, and then we can tighten everything up from there. So I'm going to start with the throttle body clamp. Using an 8mm socket, we can start to tighten that up. You also want to make sure that this clamp is sitting in that channel there. Then we can move over to the filter side. What we can do now is plug our MAF sensor back in. If you find that you have to rotate the intake tube, you can loosen up these two inner clamps. We can get that lined up. Make sure that that's correct, and then what we can do is just tighten those back up. Same 8mm socket. Then we can slide this hose over and pop this clamp back into place. You may not even need pliers, but after all of that is set, what we can do is put on our engine cover and we'll be all good to go. So that's gonna wrap it up for this review and install. Make sure you like and subscribe, and for more videos and products just like this, always keep it right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.